Welcome back to RetroWheelsVault, Horsepower Never Dies. I'm RetroWheelsVault 4, your tour guide through chrome jungles and tail-fin skies. Today we're diving into the 1960 Dodge Matador, a car that strutted like a peacock in traffic. Because modern cars forgot what muscle means. Let's fire up the engines of nostalgia. Here's a quick little gem about the 1960 Matador that perfectly sums up the space age meets suburban driveway design philosophy of the era. While most cars of the time just gave you a plain bench seat and told you to figure out how to climb in, Dodge decided to get clever. On some models, the Matador offered an option where the front seat would automatically rotate out when you open the door, and then swing right back into position as the door closed. Think of it as your car playing valet. Allow me, sir, right this way. It was a brilliant blend of practicality and showmanship. For drivers in tight suits or ladies wrangling a dress with enough fabric to double as a parachute, this feature made getting in and out of the car a whole lot easier. And of course, it gave off the same vibe as a spaceship airlock door hissing open, preparing you for takeoff. Sure, it was one more moving part that could eventually wear out, but hey, this was 1960. Space was the future, chrome was king, and convenience was all about impressing the neighbors. The Matador didn't just seat you, it escorted you. The 1960 Dodge Matador was a fresh face in Dodge's lineup, one of the two new models that year stepping in after Dodge retired the Coronet, Custom Royale, and Lancer. Riding on a newly engineered unibody platform shared with the slightly smaller Dart, the Matador took the role of Dodge's full-size base trim, while the Polara strutted around as the premium option. And let's be honest, the Matador wore its rocket-age design like a spacesuit ready for launch. Styling was anything but subtle. Those trademark Dodge stacked jet pod taillights looked like they've been juiced up on steroids, with the bottom set stuffed right into the rear bumper. Shortened tail fins gave the car a sleeker profile, but Dodge still slipped in tiny vertical lenses on the fin's backside, because why stop at just one taillight design when you can have three? The idea was to stretch the drama of those oversized jet pods, making the car look like it was always preparing for liftoff. Up front, the Matador greeted you with a bold face, a small grille of 6 aluminum rectangles cradled in an oversized, almost architectural bumper assembly. It wasn't just a car, it was a rolling sculpture, equal parts Detroit steel and Buck Rogers fantasy. When it came to heartbeats under the hood, the 60 Matador had plenty of muscle to flex. The base engine was no slouch. The 361 cubic inch Super Red Ram V8. With 295 horsepower on tap at 4,600 RPM, this cast iron block was like the dependable heavyweight boxer. Not flashy, but it could throw a solid punch. Its 4.1 inch bore and 3.4 inch stroke gave it just the right balance of brawn and breath, while a Stromberg 2-barrel carburetor kept it fueled like a man nursing his morning coffee. Steady, consistent, and reliable. But if you wanted more fireworks, Dodge offered the 383 cubic inch D500 V8 with ram induction. This was the hotshot big brother, the kind who always shows up to the family cookout with louder stories and a bigger grill. Pushing out 325 ponies at the same 4,600 RPM, it swapped the Stromberg for a Holley 4-barrel carburetor that sucked in air and fuel like a marathon runner at the finish line. With a matching 10-to-1 compression ratio and 5 main bearings, it delivered smooth durability wrapped in thunderous performance. Either way, the Matador's engines weren't just transportation. They were invitations to unleash Detroit's iron lungs on open highways. Dodge gave the Matador plenty of ways to put its muscle to the pavement, and each had its own personality. Standard was the 2-speed Powerflight automatic, which worked a bit like a no-nonsense schoolteacher. Simple, direct, and not big on options. 2 gears, that's it. You want to go faster? Tough, deal with it. Most buyers, though, opted for the far more refined 3-speed TorqueFlite automatic. Smooth, reliable, and downright futuristic, it quickly became the transmission of choice. Controlled by mechanical push buttons mounted on the left side of the instrument panel, it made you feel like you were piloting a spaceship instead of a sedan. Forget clunky shifters, just poke a button and suddenly you're captain of your own chrome-plated rocket. For the purists, Dodge did offer a 3-speed Chrysler A903 manual, but it was only available with the 361 V8. Think of it as a secret menu option. Not flashy, not common, but perfect for the driver who wanted to roll their own gears and feel more connected to the engine's heartbeat. No matter the setup, the Matador's drivetrain turned raw horsepower into forward motion with just enough flair to remind drivers this was no ordinary family hauler. Beneath all that chrome and rocket age flair, the 60 Matador had a backbone that was just as forward-thinking as its styling. Instead of the old-school body-on-frame setup, Dodge engineers went with a unibody chassis platform. That meant the body and frame were welded into one solid structure, kind of like swapping a Lego tower for a single block of granite. The result? A lighter, stiffer ride that could handle both potholes and pedal-to-the-metal launches with a bit more grace. Up front, the Matador rode on Chrysler's now famous torsion bar suspension system. Picture it like a pair of steel diving boards, twisting and flexing to keep the nose planted and the steering sharp. It gave the big Dodge a sense of agility that belayed its size, like watching a linebacker who secretly practices ballet on the weekends. Out back, things stayed a bit more traditional with a solid rear axle cushioned by leaf springs. Simple, rugged, and about as subtle as a sledgehammer, this setup delivered durability and predictable handling. Sure, it wasn't whisper smooth, but it got the job done. All told, the Matador's chassis suspension blended innovation with tried-and-true toughness, space-age style riding on a rock-solid foundation. Step inside the Matador and you were instantly reminded that this was the dawn of the space race. The interior featured cloth and vinyl bench seats dressed with premium trim, the kind of setup that made Sunday drives feel like you were lounging in grandmother's finest parlor, only with more horsepower. Gripping the X within X 4-spoke steering wheel felt less like driving a car and more like taking command of a starship's helm. The dashboard carried on that rocket-age vibe with a sweeping speedometer bridge across the top, flanked by gauge pods that looked like something NASA might have borrowed for a control panel. And if you opted for the futuristic revolving turret clock, you essentially had a mini planetarium mounted on your dash. The stationary pointer hovered while the hour and minute dials spun beneath, with a red dot ticking off the seconds like a tiny satellite orbiting Earth. It wasn't just a clock, it was a conversation piece. Tech options of the day pushed boundaries too, including vacuum-powered door locks on 4-door models and clever front swivel seats with a folding center armrest. In short, the Matador's cabin wasn't just transportation. It was retro-futuristic lounge built for liftoff. At the business end of the Matador sat a Dana Spicer 60 rear axle, the kind of hardware that was less delicate jewelry and more battle axe forged from Detroit steel. Rugged and reliable, it was designed to take all the punishment those big block V8s could throw at it without flinching. Whether cruising the boulevard or hammering down the highway, this rear end made sure power met pavement with authority. It wasn't glamorous or flashy, no chrome or fins, but like a loyal bodyguard, the Dana 60 was always there, quietly keeping the Matador's muscle in check. This oversized bull wasn't exactly shy about taking up space. It owned the road like a prize fighter walking into the ring. Measuring 214 inches in length, this land yacht stretched nearly 18 feet from nose to tail, making parallel parking more of an Olympic sport than a daily chore. At 78 inches wide, it carried the kind of shoulder span that could intimidate smaller cars just by pulling up next to them at a red light. Standing only 54.9 inches tall, the Matador had that low, sleek profile that screamed rocket on wheels. It hugged the pavement like a cat stalking its prey, ready to pounce at the tap of the accelerator. Its 122-inch wheelbase gave it the long-legged stability of a marathon runner, smoothing out highway miles with ease. Of course, weighing in at 3,880 pounds, this wasn't some featherweight sports car. It was more like a heavyweight boxer with a chrome smile. This curb weight meant durability, comfort, and a certain road presence that lighter cars simply could not match. Altogether, the Matador's dimensions gave it a balance of space-age style and big-body confidence, the kind of proportions that made it impossible to ignore, whether parked or in motion. The 1960 Matador had plenty going for it, but like any car from the rocket age era, it came with a mix of strengths and quirks that made it both lovable and occasionally frustrating. On the strong side, it had style in spades. The exaggerated jet pod taillights, shortened fins, and space-age dashboard made it look like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Pair that with V8 engines delivering anywhere from 295 to 325 horsepower, and you had a car that wasn't just for show. It had the muscle to back up the looks. The unibody design also gave it a solid modern foundation, helping with rigidity and handling. But on the flip side, the Matador had its weak spots. Its sheer size and nearly 2-ton curb weight made it more of a highway cruiser than a nimble city car. Gas mileage? Let's just say it was about as thirsty as a cowboy after a cattle drive. The push-button transmission controls, while futuristic, could confuse first-time drivers more than a puzzle box. And since it was Dodge's base full-size model, it lacked some of the upscale trim and features of its sibling, the Polara. In short, bold, powerful, stylish, but not without compromises. The 1960 Dodge Matador may not be the first car people think of when they hear muscle or classic, but that's what makes it special. It was bold, futuristic, and unapologetically over the top, a rolling time capsule of chrome, fins, and Detroit imagination. With its rocket-age styling, big V8 options, and push-button transmissions, it was less about subtlety and more about making an entrance. Driving one wasn't just transportation, it was theater, with you in the starring role. Sure, it had its quirks. Parking something this long was like docking a battleship, and fuel economy could make your wallet weep. But let's be real, that's part of its charm. Cars like the Matador weren't built for practicality. They were built to make you feel like the world was your personal highway, and the future was right around the corner. So what do you think? Was Matador an underrated gem of its era? Or did Dodge's rocket-age styling fly a little too close to the sun? Let me know what your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around for more classic car deep dives. Until next time, keep it loud, keep it classic.